Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Pool Guy podcast. I'm your host, the Retro Pool Guy. And first, I just want to say thank you for tuning in with us. I really appreciate it. We got an awesome show for you today. So first, let me introduce my co-host and producer. You all know him as the Drunken Beard, but I just call him Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm living the dream. I'm very happy that we had a game that was playable this time.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little easier than Skull Monkeys?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Well, in case y'all don't remember, today we're going to be covering XEXYZ for the NES. But first, I want to bring in our special guest for this episode. He is a good friend of mine, a digital comic book artist. Let's bring in straight from the future, all the way from Australia, Normal Andy. How you doing, Andy?
Pew, 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 coming in from the future. Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, buddy, welcome to the show, man. For anybody who
Thanks for having
hasn't seen, me and Andy, we actually are pretty good friends. We play a lot of games and stuff together, and couldn't think of anybody else I'd want on for this show more than him. So
Couldn't think of anyone else to have on the show, so you chose me.
let's get started, man. So first, tell me, where did it all begin for you as a gamer? What was your first system? That's a question I love to ask you.
My first system, Sega Master System, the Sega Master System 2 with the inbuilt Alex kit. Yeah, man. I got that for Christmas in '91, I think. God, that memory's becoming hazy, but yeah, it was Christmas '91 at my grandma's place, and I'd never seen anything like it before, outside of like an arcade cabinet. And we had Double Dragon with it as well. And I just remember the first memories was Dad hooking it up, and it was like all fuzzy and coming in weird, and you could just hear like every time someone died, it was like diddle-loo, diddle-loo. And that was my first experience. Oh man, that thing copped so much like of a beating over the years. I love that thing. Oh my
Pretty
god.
rough on it, huh?
Oh man, we were just kids. We had no idea what we were doing. But in hindsight, I should have looked after that thing. Ugh.
We all have some regrets with our retro systems, don't we?
Oh, so
You
many.
got the truth.
Yeah.
So, what game would you say made you a gamer?
Probably Alex Kidd, Miracle World. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man, I played that game to death. I mean, because it was the only one we had for a long time, and it was inbuilt. And like, the music from that game is like tattooed in my brain, like da 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 da. Oh my god.
Did you ever have to call Sega Master Tim to get some tips on that one?
No, that was well before my time. That was no. He probably
uh,
moved
so,
on by then. Bloody hell.
so what would you say is your favorite game?
Favorite game? That's a tall order. Wow. Jeez, Mech Warrior 2. Yeah, the
Mech
DOS
Warrior 2,
version.
the
Oh yeah,
DOS
yeah.
version.
Hell yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
That's a good one. That's a
Yeah, man.
really good game.
That's like if I was stuck on a desert island and I could only take one game. That's one that I would be happy with forever.
Awesome, awesome. So let's talk about your digital comics, man. First, I gotta
Yeah.
say I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah.
For our listeners, it's called Normal Andy is the name of the comic strips, and it's usually just a 4-panel kind of old school comic, but it's all done with like a digital pad. So first, let me ask, when did you
Mm.
start drawing?
As a kid, probably. That's it. That's a bit of a story. I mean, everyone draws when they're a kid because they're bored, right? But I used to just like sit in class and just like draw things all over my books. And this one time, we had a teacher that just basically got sick of it, and she was like, "If you draw on this during, like some whatever writing thing we were doing, she's like, I'm going to tear these up." And of course, I couldn't resist. So I think it was like a crappy little story that I wrote, and I draw all these little illustrations on the outside. And she just went and ripped them to shreds, and it like devastated me. And then, like, not long after that, I had another teacher who was like, "Don't quit your day job," when they were talking about my drawings. So I stopped.
Aw.
I stopped drawing for years, and like I think it was COVID. When COVID hit, like no one had anything to do, so I just went out and bought like a bunch of pads and just started drawing again. And then I got like one of those little digital Wacom and things like that. And so I've only really just started again, like in 2020, technically. I mean, not
Oh,
much has
that's
changed from when I was a kid to now in terms of skill.
So that was actually my next question was when did you make
Yeah.
your first comic?
Um, First comic. I mean, I started like doodling on Twitter probably in July, like not long ago, just out of pure boredom. Um, I think I started the comic strip in probably was it August. I think. I have no idea why. I just decided. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to turn this into a comic strip about me. Like it's because I always carry a notepad around at work as well, and whenever we had downtime, I would just draw stupid crap.
So so the next question was gonna be what inspired you to make your comics, but I guess
Oh
that
man,
would be COVID.
kind of. Yeah, I mean it's just pure boredom, but I think at the same time, it's kind of like an outlet. It really like when people say, "Oh, you know, I've got an outlet in my art and all that sort of stuff." That's really what it is. Like when we moved to where we are now, I had no job. I was super depressed. I had nothing going on, and like I was in like it was a bit personal, but I was in therapy, and we just couldn't afford the sessions, so I had to stop going. And like my only outlet that would get me through all this sort of crap was just drawing how I felt, and it kind of just evolved from there. And it just feels good. It was like just taking a soul dump. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's perfect. That's
Yeah, man.
awesome. A lot of people use art as an outlet. My wife is like that. She's an artist.
Yeah.
She likes to paint and stuff like that. So
You should show some of her
I
stuff on
totally
Twitter, man.
get
I've
that.
never seen it.
I don't know if she let me.
Ah,
Try. We'll see. She's a little shy about it.
yeah.
So, do you have your own favorite comic book or comic strip?
I'm a bit of a philistine in that regard. Like people are always like, "Oh, you know, Marvel or DC and all that sort of stuff," but like I never grew up with any of that sort of stuff. I grew up with Garfield.
Oh,
Garfield's
I
my
love
favorite comic.
Garfield.
I feel like such a hack for saying that because I draw like comics and things like that. But Garfield and The Far Side by Gary Larson are like my two biggest influences.
No, that's
Which
perfect, man.
that's why I
Dude,
always do like Monday comics because it's just kind of bled into me from Garfield.
Hey, successful
Garfield is
comics.
the best, dude.
It is.
Garfield has
Yep.
always been one of my favorites. Like
Yeah, man.
from the newspaper comics, like that was
Yep.
like one of the first things I learned how to read was
Yeah.
Garfield
Same.
comics.
The
Yeah.
only books I used to check out from the school library was Garfield books and like Where's Wally books or Where's Waldo for you Americans.
Wait, he's called Wally in Australia?
Yeah, man. In Europe and Australia.
I didn't know that. That's new to me.
Oh, Wally.
Waldo, Wally. Why didn't they
Yeah.
just use the same name? Like
I don't know.
that
That's a
doesn't
weird one. Eh?
make
Maybe it was like a
sense.
copyright thing.
Goofy. All right. So when did you decide to turn to the digital side? Like I know you said you used just notepad and paper. What made you, decide to get
Yeah.
that digital artist device, whatever
I
it is
ran out
called?
of notepads, man. I ran out of notepads. Like I have like heaps of them for work and stuff like that. But I had a bunch that I bought during COVID, like actual proper ones for drawing. Literally just ran out of them, and I couldn't be bothered going down the shops to get more. Actually, we didn't have any money because I wasn't like we weren't doing too well off, so I couldn't just go buy new ones. But I did have this little crappy old Wacom tablet that's kicking around for years that I bought ages ago for some reason, never used. And I was like, I might as well just dig that out of the cupboard and start using it. And I've just never stopped ever since. It's been perfect. It's actually way easier to draw on that thing because you can just go Control Z. Like the hardest thing I have to do is draw a circle, and you would not believe how long I sit there drawing circles and just go nut Control Z, nut Control Z, nut Control Z, start again. Oh man.
That's funny. Oh man. Uh, I don't know. I love your comics, dude. Like
Thanks, man.
it's perfect, man. Like I love the old school style because that's what it reminds me of. It reminds
Yeah,
me of like the old Garfield comics and stuff that you see in the newspapers. Like I
yeah.
haven't bought a newspaper in I don't know
I
15
remember
years,
when
but
they stopped like doing Garfield comics in the newspaper. It was a huge deal. I was devastated. I was like, "What do you mean Saturday morning?" And like, no, I think it was the Sunday morning issue where I was not going to have Garfield comics anymore because he'd sold it to Nickelodeon or something like that. And I just remember being devastated by that. It was the best thing getting the little funny paper section and just being like, Garfield, you old bloody. Silly bugger.
I think that's where my hatred for Mondays comes from. Learned it from him.
Oh, Mondays just suck in general, to be
I was to
honest.
say you don't. It's a taught skill from living.
That's a life skill, yeah.
All right, so Andy, tell the world where they can see those comics, man, because we could talk about them all day long, but we're doing a podcast slash radio type show, so they can't really see it. Where can they find them?
Twitter's the best place. You can find me at normal_Andy. The comic strip's called Normal Footage. I've got a Discord that's just growing dust. I don't know if you can see them there. And there's a link on my profile on the Twitter that's artstation.com. I've dumped all my old ones on there. But yeah, I usually try and pin one about 3 days a week. I used to do them every day, but it burned me out. So I think Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays is when I do them, and I pin them on there. But I think for anyone else that's in different time zone, it'd be Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
That's much better than just on Sundays. I like that.
Sometimes I just randomly do one. If I get an idea, it'll just pop up. So yeah, on Twitter is the best place to find them.
All right. Well, are you guys ready to jump into the game that we're covering today?
Oh
Sure.
God.
Hey, it's a lot easier than Skull Monkeys, right?
Oh
I actually
yeah.
never tried that one. Yeah, I should go back and play that.
You're gonna need to get your Game Genie out.
Oh my God. No problem.
I think for that one you would need a Game Shark.
Shark, yes.
Game Shark. All right, let's jump into it. So today we are talking about XEXYZ for the NES, and that is spelled XEXYZ. XEXYZ was released in Japan in August of 1998, and then it was released a couple years later in April of 1990. Developed by Atlas and published by Hudson Soft. Now, the Japanese version is actually quite a bit different. Uh, First off, the name, and I'm about to butcher this one. Here we go. Kame no Onogeshi Urashima Densetsu.
Hey, well done.
All right. Which translates to Turtle Repayment Urashima Legend.
Oh,
Yeah, Turtle Repayment.
Turtle repayment.
makes sense.
Actually, I'm
That's-
sorry. It's Turtles with an S, so it's Turtles Repayment. Yes. Unfortunately, this game never made it to Europe. There was never a PAL release, so this is something that is exclusive to Japan and US gamers only.
oh
Uh,
no.
the Japanese version is based on the tales of Urashima Taro, and it actually has a lot more cutscenes in the game than the US version. They took a lot of that stuff out. I'm assuming they probably didn't want to mess with a whole bunch of translating and stuff. But this game was actually a lot thicker in the Japanese version than it is the US version. And if you're not familiar with the Urashima Taro story, that's basically about a fisherman who saves a turtle and he rides it down to the Dragon Palace under the sea, and he's entertained, quote unquote, by the princess as a reward. Uh, so the US version though, it's 2000. I'm sorry, 2727, the year, and Earth existed in a different atmosphere due to nuclear war and natural disasters. And there's only 5 islands left on the planet, and they formed a nation called XEXYZ and lived in peace for hundreds of years, but was attacked by the mechanic fortress Garuza from outer space. He conquered Zexy and built a mechanic castle on each island. And in the game, you play as Apollo, who is basically fed up with this guy, the Garuza guy, and he wants to take all the islands back. So first, let's talk about what this game is really quick. It's basically a platformer and a shooter mixed together with a little bit of RPG element. So it's a pretty interesting game. It's a little bit different from some other games, but it's pretty solid. Let's talk about the graphics on this one. Let's start with you, Nick. Give me some of
All
your
right.
opinions on the graphics with this one.
They're actually quite well done. Big sprites, good colors, good palettes. Everything pretty solid. They do run into sprite limitations, obviously, with such big sprites, so you'll get that nice NES flicker all the time. But it was yeah, really fun, and I mean, looks great.
Yeah, I think for a game that was originally developed in '88, it looks pretty good. I thought back to Ghoul School, which was released like later in the lifespan of the NES, and how it didn't look as good. Like it looked like something that should have been released in '88, but this one looked pretty dang solid. Like I'm pretty impressed with it. I mean, it's not over. I don't know. I don't want to say it too much, but it's perfect. You know what I mean? For an NES game, like it's really good. It's done really well. You got some nice backgrounds. The levels are all different. Uh, you got cutscenes, all kinds of good stuff. Andy, how did you feel about the graphics on this one?
I really like the chicks in the bathtub. They look good, and the bosses look pretty good too.
Yeah, it's pretty good for a
Yeah,
8-bit game.
yeah,
The that was a nice little surprise when you go in there and you fight those little
yeah,
demon heads and the little
yeah.
fairy pops out of the bathtub. It was like, oh, hello.
Hello, lady.
I may have spent a little extra time in those rooms when I was a kid, just hanging out.
There was that guy before you get to the boss fights, and he's like, "I appreciate your courage. Please take this thing to get to the next room." His face looked pretty good. That was good graphics.
Yeah, it's a
The
good one.
portraits are great.
Mm.
Yeah, when you like save the princess and they pop up, lots of
I mean,
color.
Hudson Soft always does a pretty good job, though.
Yeah, they're a pretty big name. Like when I saw
Yeah.
Hudson Soft, I was like, "We're in good hands here."
Yeah, and also, well, they just published it, so really this is an Atlas game. If you,
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah, which
I mean, also
Okay.
good company. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I mean, you can't go wrong with either one, right? Like
yeah,
Atlas
yeah.
is still kicking today.
yeah.
Like they're still making good
Yeah, they
games.
must be
So
doing something right. Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's talk about the music. For me, I enjoyed it. It's not up there with like the Mega Man games, but it's definitely
Mm.
fitting for the game. Uh, Nick, how do you feel about the music, my friend?
Oh, so the main areas, music's okay, but when you go into a room, my God, it is
Yeah.
literally a 3 or 4 second loop of audio.
Yep.
It drove me nuts when I had to
Yep.
pause it, and I'm like, "What is this?" Oh, yeah, no, it is
Like the bonus rooms where you have to hit the
bonus
little
rooms or
treasure.
even like the little boss room. Like it's just
Yeah.
literally 3 or 4 seconds of audio on loop. Like, okay, I get it.
Oh god.
But yeah, I mean, other
Andy,
than that,
I didn't mind the main theme though. Like the
yeah.
the the actual main theme when you're on the main level and like the platforming part. That's all right. It's just sweet little.
Yeah.
It's rocking, but it loops over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So after a while, you're just like,
I I was pretty impressed with the boss music. Like
mm,
to me, there's something about good boss music that can really like suck you into the battle. And that's
adds to
what I
the
think that's what I
franticness.
enjoyed the most out of it,
Mm.
was just that boss music that's kind of fast paced and, pretty good tune. You got me hyped, man, because something, man, the
Yeah.
boss battles when we get into the gameplay talk. Whew. Uh, but I think that was my favorite. And then it's pretty unique. Even as you get to like the last level, they use like the menu music, but it's got a different tempo and just a little bit like they added another beat to it. It sounds pretty good.
Mm.
But for me, definitely the boss battle music was what takes the cake in it. Nothing like Skull Monkey music. I don't think we'll have another one with music that good. But this
Not for
music
a
was
while.
Oh
pretty
man.
awesome. All right, guys. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this game. Let's talk
Mm-mm.
about the gameplay. So, like I said before, this is a platformer and a shooter mixed with some RPG elements. So when I say there's RPG elements, that means like you can collect. There's a currency that you can collect. It's called e-ball, and you use that to go into rooms where you can find shops and you can get magic items or different weapon items. Uh, such magic items like the foot wing, which helps you jump higher and you can glide around a little bit. And then there's the mirror, which it doubles your character, so you have a copy of yourself that stands on top of you, so it's like you get a double shot. Uh, then also there's the typhoon, which basically just like turns you into a little tornado, but it only lasts for 45 seconds. So I think I bought that one time just to try it, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm never using that again. And then you have the attack weapons that you can buy. There's the one that you start with, the hand beam. That's your basic weapon. You get the 45B ball, which is like a ball that just kind of ricochets around the screen.
I hated that one.
Yeah,
That's the
you
one that
get
comes out at 45 degrees. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that was so useless. That weapon.
yeah. It's like it shoots towards the ground and then bounces right up in front of you, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
oh man.
yeah.
Uh, you get the wave.
Laser for life.
Yeah, you get the wave ball, which is just kind of how do I say it? It bounces
It's
up
in a
and
wave.
down. Yeah, it's kinda like a wave, I guess. The moon ball was my favorite. That's the one
Yeah.
that, circles
Oh, it's like
around
the one
you,
that
but
protects you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and if you hold down and B, it actually shoots like a laser out of the ball, but it stays
Oh,
so you
what?
can oh, yeah, you can,
I did not know that.
so
Oh man.
so useful when the enemies are, like, crowding the screen and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
crap." Yeah,
It's
you
like
just
every
hit
2 seconds
down and
later in the
B,
game.
and and that thing will circle around you and save your life. And then, of course, you get the laser, which is, the most powerful weapon in the game, or
Yeah, that's laser or nothing. Yeah.
yeah. Alright, so, Nick, let's start with some of your gameplay, man. How do you feel about Sexy?
Uh, so the gameplay itself is not bad. I think it was a fair challenge, and the the enemies are very varied, and just like any Atlas Hudson Soft shoot 'em up kind of game, the RPG element kind of things were a little weird on some of the like one really made me mad. What was it? Right before you get the first mech, he asked, "Hey, well, I'll give you some information for $20." Like, okay, cool. You're gonna need $20 to get into the mech. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
That's what I was thinking of as well. You're gonna need money for this, but by the way, you're gonna pay me money for this information.
It's like that. I could have literally just walked into the door that I was going to
Yeah.
walk into anyways. Fortunately, they give you lots of money all the time, so that wasn't
Yeah.
that big of a deal. But I just some of them, they would give you information. It was all very like spelled out too, which is kind of good. Usually it's not that obvious to do things in a lot of these older games. Looking at you, Castlevania 2. The yeah, they're like, oh, just shoot a block 5 times and you'll find your, the hidden area. I'm like, okay, cool. At least I'm not running around trying to figure out what to do.
Mm.
Kneeling in a corner and all that stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, boss fights were good. Um, overall, I did do your boss rush thing. That was interesting. But other than that, yeah, it was I had fun. It was an enjoyable game. I don't know if I'd go back and keep playing it again. It doesn't have much replayability in my opinion, but it's a definitely highly recommended to at least play it through one time.
Mm.
Andy, let's get your opinions on the gameplay. How do you feel about this one?
I sucked at it. I sucked at it so hard. This game brutalized me. I've had an easier time with Ninja Gaiden than with Castlevania. I got further in that. I
Wow.
mean, I really enjoyed it when I first put it on, and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool little platform and all that." And then it changed to like the side scroller, and it got faster, it got more frenetic. The worst thing I hated about it though was if you got to the end of that side scrolling part and you chose the wrong door, you had to do it again. That drove me
Ah,
insane.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it would
yeah.
loop you back around if you didn't pick the right
Yeah.
door.
Oh,
Yeah, I got
that was another gripe was every time you enter and exit a door, all the enemies would return. So like when you buy power-ups, uh
Yes.
you get hit like immediately out the door and you lose your power up. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Did they like just put them everywhere randomly on the map, or did they actually plan it out and go, okay, so when the player comes out of this door, these guys are going to be here to stuff with them? Or did they just put that there and like every time you come back out, you just get slaughtered? That's just how it felt to me.
Yeah, it really felt like the game, whoever was designing it really hated you to have things.
They were like sadomasochists. They wanted you to suffer.
I actually use that to my advantage. So if anybody out there was following me on Twitter, you saw me posting about this game, and yes, I did actually beat this one too.
That's insane.
Uh, yeah, well, I used to have it when I was a kid, so I kind of have a
Oh, you
little bit
you
of an
poor
advantage.
fool.
Yeah. No, this one was good. This was one of the ones I talked about this before. You know, my dad, he was a truck driver, and
Mm,
he would just sometimes bring home random games for me. You know, just like he'd stop at
nice
a
guy.
pawn shop or whatever. Yeah, just to be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, son, here you go." And
Best dad ever.
so yeah, so this was one of those games. No manual, no nothing. Just came in that clear plastic case, and I was just like, "What the heck? I can't even say the name of this." I thought
Your
it was gonna
experience would have
be.
been just like mine.
I thought it was gonna be like a puzzle game. Like when
Yeah.
he first handed it to me, I was like, "Oh, great, a Tetris game or something.
Oh,
Woohoo!
fantastic.
Yeah, yay!" But no, I was like, "Oh, cool, it's a platformer." And then as I played through the first levels and got into the castle, and then it changes up to a shooter where you get the first mech, and I was like, "Oh man, it's a shooter!" Like so.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this game. I have a lot of love for this one. Um, but going back to that, you can use that respawning trick to your advantage. So when I was battling the what I call the seahorse from hell,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
he's a big giant seahorse boss, and he's got a gun on his tail, a gun in his arm. He flies all over the screen, and he shoots lightning bolts out of his head. Takes
And
a
every
lot
other
of
orifice.
damage. he's he's brutal, a brutal boss. Okay,
Yeah.
so when you die, you lose, or when you have to continue, you lose half your money. You lose half of that. Okay, or when you have this game, fortunately, like a couple of other games and that we've done, it has a password system, so you can pick up where you left off. Problem is when you use a password, you only get to start with 50 credits. All right. So it doesn't matter if you had like 250, 500 saved up. If you use the password to pick up where you left off, you start with 50. And you need some of those weapons and things to beat the boss. Just trying to get through the game with the hand beam, I would love to see someone try to do that. I don't think it's possible. So what I would do is in the first area there of that particular level, there is some money on the ground. It's one of the big ones, and I believe they're worth 5. And you have those little chutes, and the floors or the ceilings of the walls that you can go up and down in.
It took me so long
So
to figure that out.
yes, so I would just shoot up into the next level and then immediately shoot back down, and the money would respawn with the enemies, and you could just jump across and grab it. And it was a quick way to you know to build your money back up. Just go up and down, up and down. And
Oh, you could
I
just keep
thought,
doing that.
huh?
You could just keep doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it
You
respawns
don't
every
even
Oh
time.
man.
You don't even have to exit all the way out of the chute. You can just
Yeah.
like as soon as your head pops up, press down again. Like you don't even have to go all the way out. It's actually kind
Oh
of
man.
fun. If you do it fast enough, you can never leave the chute. Like your feet will just dangle and you can pop back up
Yeah.
real quick. It's kind of goofy, but
I
but
wish
yeah,
that dude had
so
told me that. Like, $20 for this information, thanks.
that guy was useless. I'd
Oh my
never
god.
talk to that
Actually,
guy,
I
but I
ended
think
up just paying him the money to laugh because of his information. Like it was a joke.
no, I
Like,
I
what's he gonna
stopped
say now?
Yeah, right.
after after the first one. I was like, okay, I'm never paying that guy again.
Yeah.
I'll just figure it out. I'd never talk to him again. Like
Hey
It's
I
like,
kid,
never
oh,
paid
20
him
they're
bucks
back.
and I'll
weak
give
if
you
you
some
shoot them in the
information.
head. Like, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
To
thanks,
move,
dude.
go left or right.
So back to this seahorse from hell. I spent a couple days on that boss. He was super difficult. Uh, so what I did is like when I come up against a boss like that, I will literally just go into the room and I'll kind of watch for their pattern. So like I went down to the bottom of the screen and I just kind of watched for just like a minute, tried to stay alive long enough to see if there was any sort of pattern to him that I could kind of figure out, like if he goes up, should I go down, blah blah blah. Uh, but there wasn't. It almost feels completely random. He just kind of circles around back and forth,
Mm.
up and down. But I noticed there was a gap right behind him. Okay. So what you do is when the boss comes out, you go down all the way down to the bottom of the screen and go completely forward. And you can get behind him and he can't hit you. And what you do is you equip that moon ball. And this is another reason why that weapon is my favorite.
Okay.
And so you get behind him, you have the moon ball, and then you just wait for him as when he gets close, you just hit him with the moon ball. Piece of cake. Took no damage after I figured that out.
I would never have been able to have gotten anywhere close to that. I would have died trying.
I
The
mean,
only
you didn't
problem
get
is
close beating the first level apparently, so it's fine.
Well, yeah. I would have turned it off, played another game.
the only problem is since he moves around so sporadically, it takes forever to do that. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna get like
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
one little hit at a time. So like I was just sitting there like tap,
I was
tap,
gonna say, how long did
tap.
that take you to do? Bloody hell.
Probably about 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
10 minutes for one fight is pretty long for an NES
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Uh, so how do you guys feel about those shooter levels? Uh, Nick, give me your opinion on some of that. How did you feel about riding those cyborg riders?
It's so the gameplay itself is pretty solid for it. I don't think I had as much fun as the side scrolling ones. But like I really do like side scrolling shooters myself, or just any shoot 'em ups. They're I don't know. It just felt like kind of a like hodgepodged in there. Just
Yeah.
it it didn't really have a lot of structure to the levels. I did enjoy when it did the nice little hyperspace thing though, where you had to dodge stuff. That's always fun. Uh, but yeah, they're like the weapon combos and stuff. It just makes you want to play a good side scroller shooter.
Right, makes you want to play Grade.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah,
That's exactly how I felt.
Gradius
Yep.
or yeah, something similar. Yep. I'm like, oh
Mm.
man, I could play Gradius 3 right now. I got it on cart.
Exactly, right? That was what was going through my mind as well. I was like, yeah, this is cool, but it's not as good as like Greatest or something like that. Oh,
So
Yeah,
overall, that's my impression.
yeah.
Andy, do you have more to say on that? Or how you feel about those?
Just to add to that, the bits where I can't remember what level it was. I think it was like 5-3 or something like that. But there was like this thing that followed you, and it just made the screen like epileptic every friggin' 10 seconds. And I just struggled so hard to get through that. I was like, this game is doing my head in. It's gonna kill me.
I know exactly what enemy you're talking
Yeah,
about. That's
yeah,
that's the one that it shows up on the screen in three pieces,
yeah.
and there's like a middle. I call it's like a little diamond shaped piece, and then these two things that connect together to that piece. And once they're connected,
Mm,
it goes right to you, and it stays on you, and just drains your life. Just
yeah.
Yeah, I learned pretty quickly that you have to kill that thing before it assembles. Like as
Oh man,
fast as you can. Like ignore
I couldn't
everything
keep
else
up
on
with
the
it.
screen
Yeah,
and take that dude out because he's gonna kill you.
I just
He
could
will
not
kill
keep
you.
up with that. Like, I mean, I'm tapping the button as fast as I can. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go up there, shoot this guy, go down there, shoot this guy. It was just so frenetic and so chaotic. I'm just getting mobbed by constant enemies on the screen. Like, how do I get through this?
Something I wish they would have done is with that part of the game is a little something better for the power ups. Like it's
Mm,
cool that they did that. Like you get to power up your ship's weapon. Uh, But I don't know, it didn't feel like it was enough, like, one of them was a shot, like a double shot, but it shoots behind you. I'm like, "Okay, well, that's
yeah, yeah,
useless," like,
exactly right. Yeah,
like,
what was the point of that?
I don't remember a single enemy coming up from behind like that.
Yeah,
So,
do you reckon that was something they put in there and they were planning for it to be different, but they were just like, just leave it in.
yeah, I wish they would've done a little bit more with that part for sure.
Mm.
Let's talk about those, those Cyber Riders for a second. Did you guys have any of the favorites? Because these aren't just regular ships. All right, so like the first one you get is like a fish,
Yeah,
and then there's like a dolphin one, a
the
shrimp, and
underwater
then you
theme was very good.
yeah you get the turtle. You know,
Yeah, I
the
like the
turtle one is
lobster.
cool. Yeah, you're
The
right.
lobster was my favorite, man.
Rock lobster, man.
Yeah, that was so good.
Nick, did you have a favorite rider?
I
Cyber
I mean,
rider,
I don't really think I
cyborg
did.
rider.
Um, I just kind of was spamming buttons the entire time on those.
Yeah,
So for me, I was more or less just looking at my health to make sure it didn't die, or I
pretty
didn't
much.
die on it. Yeah, that's like as long as things were dead in front of me,
That's all that mattered.
that's all that mattered. And then
Yeah.
how short like those scrolling levels were.
Mm,
They weren't very long,
No,
yeah,
they're pretty quick. Yeah,
so I didn't really get a chance to appreciate them.
that's the thing though. They're supposed to be cyborg riders, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean they're organic and like machine? Are those things alive? Like
I guess.
that's kind of creepy.
assume. I
Just
mean,
riding these weird things through this level. Like, are we
mhm.
controlling them?
Are they controlling you?
Oh my god.
What's funny is like they don't even belong to you. They belong to the princess that you saved.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like
It's very
that
good
was
of them
just
to
what
let
I
us
was kind
ride
of
them through
thinking
this
about.
death trap.
Yeah, like here, take my cyborg rider to the next level. It's like you have a pet robot shrimp. That's kind of strange.
And it's willing to die for me? Okay, cool.
The one thing I really do like about the gameplay though is the boss battles in this game. Man, like if you think those cyber riders are kind of weird looking, you should see some of these bosses. I don't even know what that first one is supposed to be. It looks like some sort of weird bug. I assume it's kind of sticking with the underwater theme with a lot of these.
Mm, like a
'Cause
crustacean or something.
yeah, because I don't know, like some sort of weird thing. I'm not sure. It just looks like a bug, but it's super easy. If you use the 45 B ball, you can just stay at the top of the screen and just shoot down at him, and pretty
Oh, I
easy
didn't
to
even think of
avoid.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty simple that first one, but uh, yeah, the seahorse, what a monster that thing.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have any opinions about those bosses? What do you think of those boss battles, man?
I So they're pretty much, at least the ones I played through, seemed pretty uncomplicated. I generally just mashed die button and
Yep.
they died. Up until Seahorse Dragon of Death. That one actually
Yeah.
I ended up giving up on. I didn't have enough time.
I don't blame you, yeah.
Yeah, I think he died in like 5 hits. It was not a fun boss, but also
Yeah.
challenging compared to the other ones. Like the other ones, like I just walked through all of them. I didn't actually
Mm.
die to anything really up to that point. But yeah, I mean they're okay. I mean the designs are good. The sprites are
They look
huge.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they probably used a black background as well for all those fights
Ah.
for how big they are.
That's a good point. I never thought of that, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty common if you notice in like the Metroid games and stuff as well.
Oh, right,
Metroid,
yeah.
Metroid, and also Mega Man. You'll notice most of the backgrounds are always black in
Oh, they
those
are too,
because
yeah. Huh.
uh, so they can use the absence of pixels and stuff,
Yeah.
or just use it as a more like solid object for things. But yeah,
Hmm.
Andy, it doesn't sound like you got to fight too many bosses, huh?
Oh, I did with the help of the Game Genie, but and even with that, I struggled. But like, I mean, they all kind of seem the same to me. They just shoot lots of things at you, and you die really quickly. I mean, outside of that, they looked amazing. They're really good, but I mean, I guess it's just you got to have a more keen eye, like you got. You'd be able to see their patterns and where they move, and you were able to just figure it out. Whereas I was just looking at it like, oh my freaking god, like this is chaos. What do I do? Help me. Although I did like the last boss the best, I think, because it was a different perspective, and you had
Oh
to
yeah,
shoot
at
in the
the
eye.
very
I thought
end.
that was awesome. Yeah, that was
Yeah, when
really
you
cool.
actually have to take on the castle itself, Gru's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
castle.
That was
Yeah,
cool
it
because I
didn't
wasn't
say.
expecting that. I was just sort of like, oh, this is way different. Like, cool, all right, yeah, move
Yeah,
right into that.
I thought that was pretty cool too, but also
Yeah.
like the simplest, like almost
Mm.
easier than the first boss. Like
That's
I
pretty
don't,
much. I was able to actually do that one because it felt easier. You just had to shoot it right in the eye and skip the bullets. You know, it was pretty
yeah, and
straightforward.
it just kind of shoots around and well, it kind of shoots where you're at, but pretty
Maybe the game
simple.
took
Like
pity
it
on
just
you.
makes a circle, give you a break.
It was
It's
like,
kind
you
of
know
like
what,
how
you've suffered enough. Just get it in the hole and get out of here. Like, we're done.
I do have to let everyone know though I did not use a game genie when I beat this game.
I
Yeah.
don't believe you. I don't believe you.
You don't believe me? It's so true, man.
How could
No,
anyone beat this game?
I don't know how you couldn't pass the first level with that one.
I suck at this so bad.
This was you literally walk over to the right and then to the left to get to the secret entrance, and then
No,
go kill the stupid little boss that's in there for the star, and then enter the castle. How
Yep.
hard is this?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without dying so many times. I was so bad at this game.
Oh man. Like
I don't.
it took me 40 minutes, 45 minutes before I actually ran out of continues.
Well,
Like 20 seconds.
oh man,
Oh god, I'll never live this game down.
Oof.
I didn't even. I don't know. I didn't even think this game was hard. Like it has. I mean, it has hard parts,
Yeah.
like the volcano level.
Oh, is that the one with
Lord,
the dripping rain, the red rain that came from the
Mm.
ceilings?
no, this one is. It's got like volcanoes on the bottom, and they shoot just like little fireballs out of like this
Oh
whole
yes,
level.
yep.
Like it's worse than the fish in Mario. Like it's
Ugh.
ugh. Yeah, that one was a little tough. And like I said, some
Yeah.
of the bosses are kind of tricky, but I don't know. It wasn't too difficult. Like I said before, I beat Skull Monkey, so I feel like I could beat any game now. Like,
This freaking guy. It wasn't too difficult. Yeah.
Ugh.
oh man, that's good. So Nick, any other comments on the gameplay for you, sir?
No, this was one of those games that I did miss going doing all my playbacks and stuff a long time ago. So glad I was able to get a chance to play it. Uh, I think it was a good, solid concept. Execution was not great, but I
Mm.
mean, good. Had decent music, except for the looping rooms of death and the uh, you know, the boss fights. I just wish were a little bit more
Easier.
boss like. I not not easier, actually harder on some of them. Uh, But other than that, it's a good game. I think everyone should definitely play it. It's got good action, little bit of platforming, and a little back and forth adventuring. Not much, but it tries.
Yeah,
They
there's
never
a
made a
little bit
sequel,
of
did
free
they?
roam there. No, I don't think we ever got a
No. I
sequel for this
was
one.
gonna say that's an IP that's just sitting there on the shelf. They should bring it out.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be something. I would love to see a remake. You know how like they
Yeah.
redid the Blaster Master games?
Yeah, yeah.
This would be an
That's
awesome
actually what
one.
reminded me of it. The Blaster Master actually reminded me a lot of this game.
Yeah, I would. Man, that would make my day if
Oh
they
yeah.
did a remake or like just an updated version. Give me something.
Yeah.
That would be
Give it
pretty
some
sweet.
SNES graphics.
yeah. Port it
You got
to
any
Switch and
more
stuff.
thoughts on the gameplay there, Andy? Other than it
Use
was
a
a
use a game
extremely
genie.
difficult. Use a game genie.
Here's your
No,
tip:
it was all right.
cheat.
Yeah, cheat early, cheat often. Yes. No, but it was all right. But like, I guess it just wasn't for me. Pretty much, I struggled so hard to get through the first stage, like we said. But it was fun.
I think one of the things that I really like about this game today is it's still pretty affordable for like last episode with Skull Monkeys. I paid like $70 for that stinking game.
It's like
But this,
$140 reduce.
yes, a
There
lot
you
of
go.
Australian money.
Yeah.
But this one, I think it was under $20. Which is pretty good these days for any of you collectors out there who's looking for a really solid game with a little bit of variety in it. You're not gonna have to break the bank to get this one, unless a million people listen to this episode and there's a run on it. then the price is going to go up. But
Get your copies now.
Yeah,
Get them now. It's a very popular podcast.
I have a super rare PAL version. It's not a fake Chinese copy. I swear to God.
As I told a lot of people, I don't even collect carts anymore unless people just hand them to me. Just carts cost so much money nowadays.
they are getting pretty bad, man. I
It
gotta say.
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
worth the
Yeah.
$200 for flash carts.
I was just gonna say, like, that's pretty much the way moving forwards for me. Like, I've just got cheap ones that I got from AliExpress, and they're amazing.
No,
Like,
I bought the legit one, especially the one for the SNES, because now it does
Mm.
basically all chips, like the FX
Yeah.
chip and everything.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so for $240, I think, for that one.
Oh, that's like $500 reduce.
Yeah, but hey, you got to think about just one of those rare titles. If you bought the card of it, is stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's
then of course,
true.
my most expensive one is for my Neo Geo. That one
Oof.
was almost $700 for that flash card.
Oh
Whoa,
goodness!
wow.
Oh, I felt that.
But if you look at how much Neo Geo games cost, that's half the cost of like most of the just regular popular ones. Like it's $1,500 for like Metal Slug, or
You are
$2,000.
kidding.
No, go on eBay and
Wow.
look up Metal Slug
I don't want
for
to.
the Neo.
That sounds scary. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so everyone's like, "Wow, that's a lot of money." I'm like, Have you looked at how much a Neo Geo game costs? Unless you just want a crap game. Like I have a couple Japanese like crap fighter games. They were like $50 each, and they came with the consoles. But yeah, no, the flash carts are the way to go. I
Yep.
still need. Let's see, I have one for the Jaguar. I have one for the. Also the Sega one's really cool too. If you don't have a Sega CD, the newer Sega flash carts can actually emulate the Sega CD portion.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
but you do have to detach the Sega CD to make it work. So, you just plug, because I have a Sega CD. I'm like, oh, I'll get this, but then they're like, it's not. You gotta remove it, and it will work with 32X games if you have the 32X. But so you can
Okay.
just do
Very nice.
all like,
So-
so you get Sega CD, Sega 32X, and just your regular Sega games all on one like flash cart.
Yeah, man. That is totally the way to go. Really
Yeah.
is.
Next is the N64 one for me, but that one's also expensive.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that is not cheap. I've eyeballed that one for a while now.
The nice part about the Wii and the PlayStation 2 is you're able to soft mod both of those to play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, Wii,
Yep.
and GameCube games without having anything but like a hard drive attached. So, but that's me being nerdy on all my tech stuff.
I'm still
remember
holding
that.
out for original carts. I'm still.
Oh my
I don't
god.
know. I love.
Oof.
I mean, I've got the emulators and stuff that I use
Yeah.
for like those super expensive rare games. I got an old laptop that I use for that. That's basically all it's good for. Um, but I don't know. To me, I love the original hardware. Uh, I know some of the games are getting expensive, but a lot of those games I don't even care about. So I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
You're willing to
$300
die on that hill.
for a Chrono Trigger. Nah, I don't need that.
Woo!
You know,
Ooh, no.
but $20 for XEXYZ. Yeah, I'll pay that. Or I think I paid like $40 for a CIB Mario 3. That's a pretty
What?
good
Really?
deal. Yeah. Yeah, you just gotta shop around. I mean, it's still
Sheesh.
expensive, but
Yeah.
there's deals out there, and especially I'm about to plug this store. If you're in my area and you live in the U.S., Game Exchange, man, that place rocks. Like they are still have like such reasonable prices for games. They actually like price their stuff to sell. Like you look on eBay and it's like, oh, this guy wants $350 for the top
Yeah.
loader NES. They have them at when they have them at Game Exchange,
Right.
they're 169.
Yeah.
So
Yahoo JP auctions to get all your console needs.
yes, the Japanese.
No, I'm just saying.
That is honestly
And
the best way to go. Like because it's so cheap, they just have an abundance over there for some reason.
well, I mean, they sold a lot more than back then. Now there's an abundance of newer stuff here, so it's just one of those things. I also looked up the price of Metal Slug 3 tested used the Japanese version was $5,000.
Jeez.
That sold,
A
and another
car.
one was
You could buy a
3,300.
car. Why would
Yeah.
you? Who's gonna pay that?
So
I can
when I
invest in a
say get
time machine and go back in time and buy it at retail.
so when I say $700 is a hell of a steal to play Neo Geo games. That's what I mean. It's
Oh my god.
100%. Just one game is just like
I'm done.
thousands of dollars.
I'm gonna go outside and play with the stick and ball.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
of this
well,
retro stuff is just out of control. I don't
because
understand.
I
well,
literally saw a Dreamcast for $450 yesterday.
oh god, I have 2 of those.
This-
I'm not sure if you've seen my collection, but I actually have
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. But
Oh man.
yeah, consoles.
laughed.
I just buy consoles because if
Mm.
anything, software can be easily playable, but once you lose your hardware, it's gone.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Like you said, moving forwards, it's pretty much like carts, Evercarts, and things like that. That's it. As long as you got the hardware to play it on, that's what matters.
Yep.
Yep.
I think I might have to invest in a couple of those.
They're pretty good.
I highly recommend. I highly recommend buying the more expensive ones because you'll be able to play a lot more games.
Yeah, if you want to dip your toes in, get a cheap one and try it out, and then move on to the expensive ones, like you said.
I definitely recommend the expensive Super Nintendo one out of all of
Yeah.
them because Super Nintendo had a lot of custom chips, like the FX
Yeah.
chip and the SDD1 chip and stuff like that. Also, it has the ability to simulate the MSX chip, which allows you to put full CD quality music into your Super Nintendo games, and
Whoa.
including full motion video. So some games that were slated to be released for the Super Nintendo that were full motion video for the PlayStation add-on or the Sony add-on back in the day, people have ported those over, so you can play things I think like Dragon's Lair. What's the other Road full motion video game that was like anime based? I can't remember. They ported it to Sega. Then also Link to the Past has a great one where there's like a full motion video intro and
wow.
Nice.
full CD audio from the Satellaview version. If anyone remembers Satellaview, Satellaview was a satellite-based attachment for the Super Nintendo to stream
I have heard of that. Yeah.
games into the thing, but also would play a full audio track over the top of it while you played.
Was that only in
so
Japan?
That is, yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Only in Japan. It was like one of the first like kind of live everyone play at the same time. Not really multiplayer, but everyone like had to download it, and then like the event started, and then they would like start playing things, and events would happen over the radio or the audio on it.
Oh man, that sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, so they're like, "Oh, this is happening now," and you can like go and do it, and then there was like prizes and stuff. I don't know, it was really cool. But most of that stuff's forever lost. But there's a lot of recordings. Some people have dumps of the original carts and stuff. But
All right.
only way to play those though is with flash cart.
There you go. You heard it
There you
there.
go, folks. Get you a flash cart.
Get your flash carts. Yep. Get your flash carts.
Get your holler tapes.
Get your holler tapes. Happy holidays.
Oh man, so we didn't go off the rails at all in this episode, did we?
Nah, not at all.
Nah, XEXYZ.
We're calling it Xerxes.
We were talking about games. It's fine. We're good.
All right. Well, I think it's that time that we go ahead and announce what we're going to be playing for January.
Please don't be Xerxes. Please don't be Xerxes.
Skull Monkeys.
So if you thought,
oh god,
if you thought Skull Monkeys was difficult,
oh my god,
and if you thought XEXYZ was difficult, we're going to be playing Battletoads on the NES.
I have not beat that one, but I have come really damn close without cheating.
I've never beat it myself. I don't even think I owned it as a kid. We just rented it a few times. And I could never get past the Turbo Tunnel.
Really? Turbo Tunnel.
That's what everyone always complains about that one. I honestly don't ever remember playing the NES version, so I don't really remember that either.
I was only like 6 or 7 years old, but that was
I mean,
the
don't get
end
me
of it for
wrong.
me.
It's gonna take some time to get used to it. But once you get back into it, it's not super bad. It's just memorizing. The where I got stuck was I'm trying to remember. It was like some sort of water sewer level kind of thing.
Oh
That one was
yeah, I know the
super
one you're
hard.
talking about. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
so
Hang on. Let
um,
me just get my Game Genie codes. There we go. I'm good. I'm good.
Well, I'm
uh,
gonna be trying to beat that one with no Game Genie and only the manual as a reference. No walkthroughs,
Psycho.
no guides. That's how we do
No,
it here on the Retro
I
Podcast.
don't believe you.
Yeah. He doesn't believe me, but I'm telling you, it's how I do it.
yeah,
You're
I don't.
crazy, man. You're crazy.
Enough persistence, you can do it. It's
Yeah.
a lot of memorizing. It's fun
Yeah.
though.
I'm honestly
Just don't play
impressed.
with a friend.
Yeah. I'm really, really, really impressed that you can actually beat these games. Like, I don't know.
Well,
Maybe I'm
we'll
just
see.
simple. I don't know.
We'll see because Battletoads is one that I have struggled with. When I was trying to decide what games to play for the podcast, I kind of dabble in them a little bit to see if they're worth playing. And this one, I was like, oh man, here we go. Like, so
Wait, you dabbled
also,
in those other games?
yeah, well, I turn them on, make sure they work.
And you're like,
I
oh yeah, this one will frustrate him. Here you go.
I did a little dabbling beforehand.
Yeah. This is going through and finding out which ones are the hardest slash time consuming.
Woohoo, this will get him.
Yep. I'm like, oh, have you played these ones? These ones are fun. He's like, yeah, but what about was it Jurassic Park? I'm like, oh my god.
Oh god.
That's the only game I haven't beat yet this
Oh, man.
season.
Well, that I'll
Just,
believe. Yeah, I believe.
that's just too much, man. Too much.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just mind numbing and boring.
But the reason we're gonna do Battletoads is because I got a pretty special guest lined up. I don't know if I should say who it is now, just because sometimes things happen
Hmm.
and scheduling and stuff. He's a pretty busy guy, so I think we'll leave it as a surprise for now. I'm not gonna
James
say who it is.
Hetfield.
Yeah, I wish. No, but so we'll see. Hopefully, just y'all keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully we can definitely get it locked in. It's going to be a really awesome special guest. I think you guys will be very happy with that one. So, Nick, any final thoughts on XEXYZ at all?
No, good game. Everyone should try it, play it. It's not as hard as some other people have made it sounded to be, but it's fun.
All right, on it. Andy, any final thoughts on XEXYZ?
Glad it's over.
Glad it's over. You struggled, poor guy.
Cheat early, cheat often, cheese where you can. Have fun.
All right. Andy, one more time, man. Why don't you tell everyone, tell our audience where they can find you and your awesome comics?
I'm on Twitter at normal_Andy. My comic is called Normal Footage. It's stick figures and silly jokes and like anti-Monday jokes. Get some.
Classic. Y'all go check that out. You will not be disappointed.
Oh, you will be. Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm
Oh,
glad to have been the worst guest you've ever had. Thank you.
Nah, you were fantastic, man. I'm really happy that you made it on here, dude. Um, all right,
Cool
folks.
guys unite.
Oh, that's right. We didn't even mention that. Andy is
Yeah,
also
man.
a fellow pool guy.
I'm a
Yeah.
fellow chlorine slinger.
Mhm.
He just works in the future. So.
We got all the latest technology.
All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. I really appreciate you guys checking us out, as always. And if this is your first time listening, please go back, check out some of those older episodes. You will not be disappointed. So thank you. Thank you all for listening. And please remember, the light at the end of the tunnel may be you. Goodbye, everyone.